Billionaire catches a homeless boy dancing with her paralyzed daughter. A barefoot, hungry boy slipped his skinny body through the broken hole of a mansion and saw the billionaire's daughter sitting in silence, her face clouded with sadness. Then he did something no one expected. He began to dance, not for money, not for food, but simply to make her smile. But what happened next will shock you. So sit back, let's figure out what happened next. And if you're still tuning into our channel for the first time, kindly click on the subscription button and give this story a thumbs up. In the heart of the city stood a mansion so grand that people often stopped on the road just to stare at it. The walls were painted white, the gates shone like gold, and tall palm trees lined the compound like royal guards. To outsiders, the mansion looked like a palace of joy, but inside, sorrow ruled like a king. This was the house of Chief Okafor, one of the richest men in the land. People said, Chief Okafor's money can buy anything. But there was one thing his money could not buy: peace for his only daughter, Amara. Amara had once been a lively girl. She used to run in the gardens, play with the butterflies, and laugh so loudly that her laughter echoed through the entire street. But that joy was stolen from her 2 years ago. One evening, Amara and her mother had gone out together. On their way back, a speeding truck lost control. The crash shook the earth like thunder. That night, Amara's mother died, and Amara's legs became lifeless. She was only 7 years old when it happened. From that day, the girl who once ran like the wind now sat in a wheelchair, her face pale, her eyes dim. She could not play, she could not walk. She only watched from her chair while other children ran past the gates. Her father tried everything. He brought doctors from Lagos, Abuja, even from America and India. They examined her, tested her, treated her, and gave him bills worth millions. But after all the pain and money, they shook their heads and said, "We are sorry, sir. Your daughter may never walk again." Chief Okafor's heart broke. Every night he prayed. Every morning he wept secretly in his room. He had cars, servants, companies, and wealth, yet none of it could restore his daughter's joy. Amara too cried silently. She remembered how her mother used to hold her hands and say, "My daughter, you are my sunshine." But now her sunshine had turned to darkness. The laughter in her life was gone. Day after day, she sat outside the mansion, staring at the gate, watching the world move while she remained still. That same city had another child, but one who lived in the shadows. His name was Chima, a boy without a home, without parents, and without comfort. Every day, Chima walked through the market hoping to see a fruit peel or bread crust someone had thrown away. He begged people for money, but most times they pushed him aside, saying, "Go away, dirty boy." Sometimes when he was too weak from hunger, he would sit by the roadside and cry. But tears did not give him food. Tears did not give him shelter. One thing, however, made Chima different from other homeless children. Whenever his sorrow became too heavy, he would dance. Yes, he would rise on his skinny feet, lift his hands to the sky, and dance. He would stamp his bare feet on the ground, twist his body, shake his head, and move to the rhythm that only his heart could hear. When he danced, his hunger did not bite him so much. When he danced, the cold did not feel so cruel. Dancing was the little fire in his soul that kept him alive. On that hot afternoon, hunger was burning in his belly like fire. His legs were weak and his throat was dry. He wandered the streets, searching for anything, maybe a crust of bread or a fruit peel. As he walked near the big mansion, something caught his eye. Through a small opening in the tall gate, he saw a young girl sitting in a wheelchair. Her hands were resting on her lap. Her face was heavy with sorrow, and her eyes were filled with pain. Chima stopped and stared. For a moment, he forgot his own hunger. "Ah," he whispered, "this girl is rich, yet she looks even more sorrowful than me." He looked at her again. He could see in her face the kind of pain that no food, no money, no servants could remove. It was the pain of a broken heart. Chima thought to himself, "When my sorrow is too much, I dance. My dance drives away my tears. Maybe if I dance for her, she too will smile. Maybe she will forget her sadness for a moment." He looked left. He looked right. The security guards were standing far in front of the mansion. At the back wall, he saw a small broken hole where bricks had fallen off. Without thinking twice, he squeezed his skinny body through the hole. Inside the compound, he walked carefully on tiptoes until he reached the girl. She turned her head and saw him. At first her eyes widened in fear. Who was this strange boy in torn clothes, barefoot with dust covering his body? Before she could scream, Chima bent low and said softly, "Please don't be afraid. I came not to harm you. I came only to make you smile." Amara frowned. How can this dirty boy make me smile, she thought. Amara blinked as the strange boy bowed before her. His clothes were torn in many places. His ribs showed through his thin chest. His hair was uncombed and his feet were bare. She wanted to call for help, but there was something in his eyes, something gentle that held her back. The boy spoke again, his voice trembling but firm. "I am Chima. Please don't be afraid. I did not come to steal. I did not come to harm you. I only came to make you smile." Before Amara could reply, Chima took a deep breath, stepped back, and began to dance. At first he moved slowly, lifting one leg, turning, bowing low and rising again. Then his steps grew faster, his body twisting, his arms waving like branches in the wind. He spun around, stamped his feet, jumped lightly, and shook his head with rhythm. He danced as though his hunger did not matter. He danced as though his bare feet did not hurt. He danced as though the whole world was watching, though it was only one sad girl in a chair. Amara's eyes widened. At first she only stared, her heart heavy as always. But as the boy continued, something began to change inside her. The dance was not polished like a trained performer's. It was raw, full of life, and full of freedom. She felt her lips quiver. Then for the first time in many years, she smiled. The smile broke into laughter. Her hands clapped on their own. "Again!" she cried. "Do it again!" Chima spun faster, jumped higher, and shook his body until dust rose from the ground. Amara laughed so hard that tears rolled down her cheeks. It was not tears of sorrow. It was tears of joy. The mansion, which had been silent like a grave for years, now echoed with her laughter. And in that moment, Chima knew his dance had power. It could heal broken hearts. Inside the mansion, Chief Okafor was sitting in his study. His eyes were on a business document, but his heart was far away. For months he had watched his daughter sink into silence. For months he had wished to hear her laugh again. Then suddenly a sound broke the air. It was faint at first, but it grew louder. Laughter. His daughter's laughter. Chief Okafor dropped his pen. His eyes widened. He whispered, "Amara, is that you?" He stood quickly, almost knocking over his chair, and ran to the window. What he saw nearly stopped his heart. There was his daughter clapping and laughing in her wheelchair. And before her, a dirty, ragged boy was twisting and dancing like a wild spirit. Chief Okafor's face turned dark. His voice thundered, "Guards! Guards! Who is that boy? Who allowed him in here?" The guards rushed forward, confusion in their eyes. Chief Okafor stormed out of his study, his shoes echoing on the marble floor. His anger grew with every step. When he reached the garden, he pointed at Chima. "You! Who are you? How dare you sneak into my compound? Guards, seize him at once!" The guards moved quickly. Chima froze, fear flooding his face. He dropped to his knees and raised his hands. But before they could touch him, Amara cried out with a voice filled with tears, "Father, no! Please stop! Don't hurt him!" Chief Okafor turned in shock. Amara's face was wet with tears, but her voice was strong. "He makes me happy. Can't you see? His dance gives me joy again. Please, Father, don't take him away." The guards hesitated. Chief Okafor's mouth hung open. For 2 years, he had tried everything: doctors, treatments, therapists. Yet today, one poor boy had brought back the smile he thought he had lost forever. Still, anger and fear battled in his heart. What if this boy was a thief? What if he had evil intentions? He glared at Chima. Chima quickly bent his face to the ground and begged, "Sir, forgive me. I only wanted to see her smile. I have nothing, I am nothing, but I know how to dance. Please don't punish me." For a long moment, silence hung in the garden. The guards stood frozen. Amara sobbed, holding her father's sleeve. Chima trembled, waiting for judgment. And there, something shifted in Chief Okafor's heart. He had never seen his daughter plead for anything with such passion. He looked at Chima again, and though he saw a homeless boy in rags, he also saw something else. A boy with courage, with kindness, with a gift. Chief Okafor's face was hard as stone, his eyes sharp as knives. He looked down at Chima, who was still kneeling on the ground with dust clinging to his skin. "Boy," Chief Okafor said in a voice that made even the guards step back, "speak the truth. Who are you? Where did you come from? And why did you enter my compound without permission?" Chima swallowed hard. His voice shook. "Sir, my name is Chima. I have no father. I have no mother. I have no house to call my own." The guards exchanged glances, whispering. Amara leaned forward, her heart already heavy for him. Chima continued, his words pouring out like water from a broken pot. "When I was very small, my parents died in a sickness that swept our village. There was no one to care for me. I slept under bridges. I searched dustbins for food. I begged from strangers. Many times I went to bed with nothing in my stomach but tears." He paused, his voice breaking. Tears rolled down his dirty cheeks. "Sometimes people chased me with sticks when I begged. Sometimes I fainted on the street from hunger. But when the sorrow became too heavy, I found one thing that helped me: dancing. When I dance, I forget my pain. My stomach may be empty, but my heart becomes light. My tears dry. Dancing is the only friend I have." Amara covered her mouth with her hands, her eyes flooding with tears. Chief Okafor's stern face softened, though he tried to hide it. Chima bowed his head even lower. "Today, when I saw your daughter sitting with sorrow, I remembered my own pain. I thought, maybe if I dance for her, she will smile, just as I smile when I dance. Forgive me, sir, for entering without permission. I came not to steal, not to harm, but only to bring her joy." Silence fell in the garden. Even the birds seemed to stop singing. Amara suddenly cried out, "Father, can't you see? He speaks the truth. For years you spent millions, but I never laughed. Today this boy made me laugh again. Please don't send him away. Please." Her hands gripped her father's tightly, her tears soaking them. Chief Okafor felt his heart break open. His daughter's voice was like a knife cutting through his pride. He looked at Chima again. The boy was poor, dirty, hungry, but there was honesty in his eyes. There was goodness in his heart. At last, Chief Okafor spoke slowly, his voice gentler than before. "Chima, your life has been hard, yet today you gave my daughter what money could not buy: happiness. From this moment, your story will change. You are no longer homeless. You will live with us. You will eat with us. You will be part of this family." The guards gasped. Amara clapped her hands with joy. Chima lifted his head, eyes wide with disbelief. "Sir, is it true? Will you truly allow me to stay?" Chief Okafor nodded. "Then yes, because kindness deserves reward, and because anyone who brings life to my daughter's heart is no ordinary child." That night, Chima slept in a real bed for the first time in his life. The bed was soft, the sheets white, the pillow fluffy. For a while he could not sleep. He was afraid he might wake up and find it all a dream. In the morning, he woke to the smell of hot bread, fried eggs, and tea. His stomach growled so loudly that the maids laughed. He ate until his belly was full, something he had not felt in years. Amara was waiting for him in the garden. Her face shone brighter than the sun as she waved. "Chima, dance for me," she called. And Chima danced. He danced with joy, not sorrow. His steps were light, his body alive. Amara clapped and laughed, her eyes sparkling. Every morning and every night, Chima danced for Amara. Each time she laughed more, smiled more, and her cheeks began to glow again with health. The mansion, which had been silent for years, was now filled with music and laughter. The cooks hummed as they worked. The maids smiled as they cleaned. Even the guards, once stiff and stern, tapped their feet to Chima's rhythm. People passing by the mansion whispered to one another. What has happened in Chief Okafor's house? It was once filled with sorrow, but now we hear laughter every day. Chief Okafor himself would sometimes stand quietly in the corner of the garden, watching the boy and his daughter. His heart, once heavy with grief, felt light again. He thought to himself, Truly, life is not only about riches. Sometimes joy comes from the simplest gifts. And so Chima, the homeless boy, once rejected by the streets, became the light of the mansion. His dance became the medicine that healed not just Amara's heart, but the whole household. The days turned into weeks, the weeks turned into months, and every single day Chima danced. He danced in the mornings when the dew was still on the grass. He danced in the evenings when the sun painted the sky with gold. He danced in the nights when the moonlight shone like silver. Each time he danced, Amara laughed. Each time she laughed, her face glowed brighter. And each time her face glowed, her father's heart grew lighter. But something else was happening, something mysterious, something no one noticed at first. Whenever Chima danced, Amara felt tiny sparks of life stir in her legs. At first it was just a tingle, like ants crawling. She thought it was her imagination, but slowly the tingling grew stronger. One bright morning, as Chima spun around and clapped his hands, Amara suddenly gasped. "Chima! I felt my toes move. The maids dropped their brooms. The guards straightened in shock. Chima stopped dancing, his eyes wide. "Move them again," he cried. Amara looked down at her feet. Slowly, painfully, her toes wriggled. She burst into tears, covering her face. "Father! Father!" she screamed. Chief Okafor rushed out into the garden, his heart pounding. He saw his daughter's toes twitching, moving for the first time in years. He fell to his knees, unable to believe his eyes. From that day, every time Chima danced, Amara tried harder. She pressed her feet against the ground. She pushed against the arms of her wheelchair. Her legs trembled like weak branches in the wind. Then one faithful morning, the miracle came. Chima was dancing more joyfully than ever, spinning and stamping, twisting and jumping. Amara gripped the arms of her wheelchair. She felt fire in her legs, a strength she had not known in years. With tears streaming, she cried out, "I will stand!" And she did, slowly, shakily, painfully. Amara rose to her feet. The maids screamed. The guards shouted. Chief Okafor fell flat on the ground, weeping like a child. My daughter is standing." Amara took one step, then another, then another. The wheelchair was behind her, and she was walking on her own two legs. She ran forward, though her steps were wobbly, and threw herself into her father's arms. "Then, Father, I can walk again." And the whole mansion shook with cries of joy. News spread like fire. It leapt from the mansion to the street, from the street to the market, from the market to the whole city. "The billionaire's daughter can walk again," people shouted. "The girl who was paralyzed for years is now standing on her feet." Crowds gathered outside the golden gates, singing and clapping. Strangers danced in the street. Women ululated. Men beat drums. Children jumped with joy. Doctors who had once said, "Impossible," rushed to see for themselves. They examined Amara's legs, pinched her toes, asked her to walk. When she took step after step, their mouths hung open. "This is beyond medicine," they whispered. "This is a miracle." Chief Okafor declared a great feast. He ordered cows to be slaughtered, rice to be cooked, palm wine to flow. Musicians were hired. Drummers beat their drums until the ground shook. The mansion, once filled with sorrow, now overflowed with celebration. Guests came in hundreds. Rich men and poor men, neighbors and strangers, all came to witness the wonder. At the center of it all stood Amara, smiling, walking, and sometimes even dancing with her new brother Chima. The people cheered until their voices grew hoarse. When silence finally fell, Chief Okafor stood before the crowd and lifted his voice. "Listen, all of you. For years I had money, but I could not buy my daughter's joy. I had wealth, but I could not heal her. Doctors from many lands failed. But this boy, this homeless boy, brought back her laughter with nothing but his dance. And through that joy, a miracle came." He turned and placed his hand on Chima's shoulder. "From today, Chima is no longer a street boy. He is my son. He is Amara's brother. He is family." The crowd roared in approval. People clapped, shouted, and praised the boy who once slept under bridges. Chima bowed his head, tears streaming down his cheeks. His heart, which once knew only hunger and rejection, was now overflowing with love. And as the drums beat, as people sang, As joy filled the air, one thing was clear. The dance of one homeless boy had turned sorrow into laughter, hopelessness into healing, and despair into miracle. And so Chima the homeless boy became part of the Billionaire's family. But more than that, he became a living story. Whenever people told the tale, they ended with these words: no matter how small you are, your gift can change lives. Joy can heal where money fails. Kindness can lift the sorrow of another and also lift your own. And that is how the boy who once slept on the streets became the brother of a billionaire's daughter, and how his dance turned sorrow into laughter and despair into a miracle. And here comes the end of this amazing and beautiful story. Kindly share your thoughts on the comment section. We'll be happy to read them. And don't forget to subscribe on our channel if you're joining us for the first time. And lastly, don't forget to share this story to your loved ones. Thank you so much for watching, and do have a beautiful day ahead.